Your motorcycle engine wasn't invented by Suzuki. It was stolen. This is the true story of the Cold War spy who smuggled nuclear secrets. And the blueprint for the modern two-stroke engine. Out of East Germany in the trunk of a car. The trunk of the car was small. It was dark. It smelled of gasoline, and it was the only way out. Inside that trunk were not just clothes or food. There were blueprints. Hand-drawn diagrams of an engine technology so advanced that it was considered a state secret by the East German government. If the guards at the border checkpoint opened the trunk, the driver would be arrested for treason. The man hiding the secrets would be executed. But if they made it across, the history of the motorcycle would change forever. We think of Suzuki, Yamaha, and Kawasaki as the inventors of the modern two-stroke engine. We think Japanese engineering conquered the world on its own. We are wrong. The engine that powered the Japanese dominance wasn't invented in Tokyo. It was stolen from a tiny communist factory behind the Iron Curtain. This is the true story of the greatest heist in automotive history. The spy, the scientist, and the stolen secret. To understand the theft, we have to understand the treasure. In the 1950s, the motorcycle world was dominated by four-strokes. Two-strokes were considered garbage, noisy, smelly, and weak. They were for lawnmowers, not race bikes. But in Jappo, East Germany, a genius engineer named Walter Kaaden was rewriting the laws of physics. Kaaden wasn't just a mechanic. He was a former rocket scientist who had worked on Hitler's V-1 and V-2 rockets during World War II. After the war, he was stuck in East Germany, working for a small motorcycle brand called MZ. Kaaden realized something nobody else did. A two-stroke engine isn't an air pump. It's a musical instrument. He applied rocket science to exhaust pipes. He discovered that by shaping the exhaust into a specific expansion chamber, he could use sound waves to stuff the fuel back into the engine before the piston closed. It was essentially a turbocharger made of nothing but air. Suddenly, the tiny MZ 125cc bikes were producing 25 horsepower. That's 200 horsepower per liter. In the 1950s, that was alien technology. MZ began destroying the competition, and the Japanese manufacturers were watching. Enter Ernst Degner. Degner was MZ's star rider. He was the man piloting Kaaden's missiles. He was a hero in East Germany. The communist regime used him as a poster boy to show the world that their engineering was superior to the West. But Degner had a problem. He was famous, but he was poor. While Western riders were driving Ferraris and living in mansions, Degner was paid a factory worker's salary. He was constantly monitored by the Stasi, the secret police. He hated the regime. He wanted freedom, and he wanted money. In 1960, a struggling Japanese company called Suzuki approached him. Suzuki was a joke in the racing world. Their bikes were slow. Their engines seized. They were being laughed off the track. They needed Kaaden's secret exhaust technology, but they couldn't figure it out on their own. So, they made Degner an offer he couldn't refuse. Bring us the secrets. Bring us the blueprints. And we will make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Degner agreed. But leaving East Germany wasn't like changing jobs. It was escaping a prison. If he was caught, he would never race again. The plan was set for the Swedish Grand Prix in 1961. Sweden was neutral ground, but Degner couldn't just run. He had a wife and 2 children back in East Germany. If he defected while they were still at home, the Stasi would arrest him. They would be used as leverage to force him back. He had to smuggle his family out first. While Degner was at the racetrack, a trusted friend in West Germany drugged Degner's children with sleeping pills to keep them quiet. He hid them in a secret compartment in the trunk of a Lincoln Mercury. He drove them through the Berlin checkpoint. The guards circled the car. The children were asleep in the wall of the trunk. If they coughed, if they woke up, it was over. Miraculously, the guards waved them through. The family was safe in the West. Now, it was Degner's turn. On race day, Degner was leading the championship. If he won this race, he would be the world champion for MZ and East Germany. He started the race. He was flying. The MZ engine sang its high-pitched song, destroying the Hondas and the Suzukis. Then, mysteriously, the engine died. Did it break? Or did he sabotage it? To this day, nobody knows for sure. Degner pulled off the track. But instead of going back to the pits where the East German team was waiting, he hopped into a car that was waiting for him. He had a suitcase with him. Inside were the piston drawings, the port timings, and the dimensions of Walter Kaaden's expansion chambers. He drove straight to Denmark, then to West Germany, and finally to Hamamatsu, Japan. He had defected, and he had taken the crown jewels of East German engineering with him. When Degner arrived at Suzuki, the engineers treated him like a king. He laid out the secrets. He showed them how the boost ports worked. He showed them the math behind the exhaust waves. It was the missing link Suzuki had been searching for. Within months, Suzuki built a new engine based exactly on Kaaden's designs. The results were immediate and terrifying. The new Suzuki 50cc bike made 10 horsepower at 11,000 RPM. It was a rocket. In 1962, just 1 year after the heist, Ernst Degner rode the Suzuki to the World Championship. It was the first world title for Suzuki, and it was won using the technology stolen from the man who had made Degner a star. Back in East Germany, Walter Kaaden was devastated. His rider was gone, his secrets were gone, and because his technology had been stolen by the capitalists, the communist government suspected Kaaden of being involved. He was interrogated by the Stasi. His life was ruined. Degner got his money. He got his freedom. He got his world championship. But they say you can't outrun karma. In 1963, at the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka, Degner crashed his Suzuki. The fuel tank exploded. He was engulfed in a ball of fire. He survived, but he was horribly disfigured. He required dozens of skin grafts. He was never the same rider again. The pain led to a morphine addiction. He lived the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, terrified that the Stasi agents were coming to assassinate him for his betrayal. He died in 1983, alone, in the Canary Islands. The official cause was heart failure, but rumors persist to this day that he was finally found by the ghosts of his past. Look at any two-stroke motorcycle from the last 50 years. Look at a Yamaha YZ250. Look at an Aprilia 250 rupees. If you cut open their exhaust pipes, you will find the expansion chamber shapes that Walter Kaaden invented in a shed in East Germany. Suzuki took that technology and shared it with the Japanese industry. It launched the golden era of the two-stroke. It gave us the greatest sounds and the wildest bikes in history. But we must never forget the cost. The modern motorcycle wasn't born from clean innovation. It was born from a desperate man, a trunk full of secrets, and a betrayal that broke the Iron Curtain. It was the greatest heist in history, and you are writing the evidence. If you think that story was wild, you haven't heard about the time a manufacturer tried to build a bike that defied the laws of physics and failed. Click this video right here to see the oval piston mystery. It makes the Suzuki heist look simple,